Hello, I feel pretty inspired today and therefore I will make another video. Now, what I explained in my previous video is that when you when you give too much importance to things such as money, girls, or even studies, may they be material, may they be immaterial, well, what you're doing by giving disproportionate importance to these things, well, you're pretty much creating excess potential EP. And because the universe likes balance, it likes its equilibrium state, it will always strive for it, and therefore it will make it pretty much impossible for you to achieve these things if you care too much. Now, the key over here is to care enough. Okay, you cannot be careless when it comes, for example, to your financial situation, to your relationships in general, in plural. You cannot be careless. You need to have some care, you need to understand them, but you also need to have some distance. Okay, so this is pretty much what I explained in the previous video, and I hope that either you, Christian, or any other viewer of this video or viewers, I hope that you understand this key thing. And I know for sure it works. I already explained it in my previous video, but right now I want to speak about why does this happen and why do we sometimes feel like we give too much importance, may it be positive or negative, and we get nothing back. It's as if you're paying someone to work for you, but in reality, they just don't do anything. They just sit there, they eat your energy. Well, they may eat your food, your money, but in this case, what I'll speak about is energy. Here, the currency is energy, and in the universe, energy is making everything. Therefore, you're paying with the highest currency possible. Now, why does this happen? We need to understand a pretty fundamental concept, which is the concept of pendulum. Now, I'm definitely not an expert on everything I'm going to present to you right now, and I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible so that I get the core of the concept without going in too much detail. Why? Because each and single one of us has the responsibility to go deeper on these things and may it be like a bit more detailed with some weird words such as a pendulum, may it be just saying, oh yeah bro, don't care. The message is still there, it's the same message, it's just the way that you interpret it, it's the way that you understand it. And I believe that sometimes giving words for things actually works. At least I'm a pretty visual person, so when, for example, when I want to understand what's going on in front of me, if I want to analyze something, if I want to recognize, there we go, that's the word I was looking for. If you want to recognize something, well, it's pretty useful to have a specific word for it. What's a pendulum? Well, you can see it as a big monster. Okay, why? Because there are no positive pendulums. And it's a monster which only exists on the energetic level, and it appears when multiple people or when a single person strongly believe something. Okay, or it's pretty much linked to and belief. Okay, identity and belief. For example, I was born in an ex-Soviet country, and so the first ideology I think about is communism. And so in that case, it may be communism. Okay, communism, whatever. Probably can't even read that, doesn't matter. Now, If one person believes communism is the perfect economic system, it's a pendulum, but it's not as strong. Why? Because we all know that 1 plus 1 does not equal 2 on an energetic level. It's probably 3 or 4. That's why pendulums are super strong when the thoughts, when the identities, when the beliefs are being shared by multiple people. And this pendulum, even though initially it may have been created just by 2 or 3 people, it will become an entity on itself. And therefore, it will try to survive off of its adheres. Okay, so no, adherents, oh my god, adherents energy. Okay, what it will do is that it wants to survive, and the way it feeds itself is by eating the adherence energy. And so, if one person, for example, says, yeah, communism is great, we should absolutely adopt this system. Another person says, yeah, bro, I actually agree with that. I believe that it's a great change compared to what we have right now. Well, this specific pendulum will keep on growing and growing as long as energy is being fed. Now, the funny thing is that you have people who will be like, but no, bro, communism isn't as great as you think it is, okay? But the thing is that this pendulum, okay, this energy entity, it does not care if the energy it receives is negative or positive. In fact, sometimes negative energy may even feed it better because it in itself also needs an equilibrium, and it really likes to play on the pole sides. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, let's say this is a spectrum. Here you have hate, okay? Here you have love. If you only give love to something, well, that's great, but it cannot really strive. If you give it something in the middle, it will die. But if you give it love and hate, now this is where it really, really strives. Okay. Why? Because it gets both the negative and the positive energy, and therefore it will actually survive and live very well. Now let me make a cute face, bro. That's a big nose. That's a big nose. All right. What does this actually mean? Well, it means that may it be a pendulum that you love or a pendulum that you don't love. May it be, for example, okay, in my case, it was I absolutely hated iPhones, okay, or like Apple products in general. Or may it be something positive, like for example, KFC is the best restaurant ever, and I will never change my mind. May it be negative or positive, at the end of the day, I was still fitting these two pendulums. And what it did is that it took my energy, my negative or my positive energy, and it used it. It was feeding itself. No, it was feeding off my own energy. Now, how do you expect your body, your mind, and your heart to have enough energy to actually help you achieve different goals that you have? Maybe a car, okay? Even though, like I said, don't give too much importance to it. Maybe a good body, okay? A good body. Let me. Uh, I don't fucking know how to draw a body. Whatever. This head, okay? Muscular legs. There we go. Great. May it be anything. It does not matter. If you feed too many pendulums, well, unfortunately, you will just lose, bro. You will just lose crucial energy, which instead of being used in improving your own life, instead of being focused on improving, self improvement on itself will not be a pendulum unless you go too far with it. Like for example, if you only like people who are on self-improvement themselves, that's a pendulum. You're feeding the energetic entity of self-improvement. If you hate self-improvement, you're feeding the pendulum as well. And so, but self-improvement, like the intention of acquiring new skills, of acquiring better qualities, not focusing too much on what's going wrong with yourself right now. And I'm gonna speak about that possibly in another video if I decide to make it or to publish it. I may actually just keep it for myself. I don't know yet. But the key is this. Now, damn, I had another idea in mind. Yeah, I had another idea in mind, but I don't. I seem to have fallen the line. But whatever. This is the main idea of this video. Pendulums. You need to recognize them. Yeah, that's something important. That's not my main idea that I had earlier, but you need to recognize them. Okay, oh yeah, I do have the idea I had. Whatever, it's all good. You need to recognize them. Why? Because by recognizing them, you're not going to defeat them, and I'm going to speak about defeating them, okay? But first, you need to start recognizing them, understanding them. How do they work? You will probably start to recognize them pretty quickly. Like everything can be a pendulum. Back in the day, there was this fight between PS4 and Xbox One. Okay, this is a huge pendulum. Same shit as iPhone against Android. It doesn't matter. They're all pendulums trying to feed themselves off of your own energy. Okay, so don't feed the pendulums. Use the energy instead on self-improvement, and actually do shit in your life while at the same time not giving a fuck. Okay, because if you don't give a fuck, that's why many people tell you, yeah, don't give a fuck, everything is gonna be alright. Because to some extent, if it's not careless, I don't give a fuck. If it's a careful, I don't give a fuck, it will work. But the principle is this: don't give a fuck about like iPhone, KFC, it doesn't matter. Okay, iPhone, Android, KFC, McDonald's, as long as, bro, it's just a preference. Okay, if you start judging people and stuff like that for this, you will either force success, which will not stay with you for very long, or you will have success that isn't fulfilling, because every single time you will just have no energy left for yourself and for the things that you at your core value. Now, how do you defeat the pendulums? First, you need to drop your ego, okay? Drop your ego. You're not better than anyone. Well, some ego can sometimes help, okay? Some delusional ego can help, but you need to drop the really, really high ego, which is telling you that, look, I'm better than other people for X or Y. It is not true, okay? That's simply false. Just shut up. But now the really practical stuff is that a pendulum that is interacting with you through people, because it literally manipulates other people, will expect a certain behavior from you, a certain response, a certain action. And if you counteract it, like for example, let's say in my case it was, oh, you have a Samsung. Okay, most of the time I was looking at them. Right now I don't give a fuck. Like, people can judge me, I don't care. It's just a phone, and Samsung or Apple or any other phone, they're all multinational businesses trying to make as much money as possible. I don't care what anybody else is saying. It's just a preference, okay? But if someone is telling me this, I can, for example, respond with, damn, you're a really deep person with like a really good quality of judgment, you know? And that may actually make them reflect for a moment and ask them, what the hell, bro? What the hell did this guy reply with? Huh? And they may actually think for a moment. Now, this is one of the things you can do. The other thing is kind of similar. I don't remember it exactly, but it's pretty much um, observing, okay? Observing it, observing, but ignoring, but ignoring. You will definitely, there is no world with no pendulums, and you will continually fight against pendulums, and you will see people being manipulated by them. And it's just like in my case, this was something pretty recent with the phone thing, but it may also be, look, I'm from this school, so I'm smarter than you, or look, I have this car and I will always buy this car. Like I saw some guys with Porsches. Bro, shut the fuck up, bro. It's just a preference. If you enjoy it, just keep enjoying it, and don't break my leg, bro. Okay, break my leg for it's a mot à mot translation of a French expression, which means don't stop being annoying, like leave me alone, but ignore it. Okay, ignoring it. For example, if I see that people are super into a president, you can recognize the pendulum, you can observe it, but you need to ignore it. Like you don't need to either be like, oh yeah, look at these people, they just love this person. Just don't give a shit.